Hello, and welcome to Rainy Tuesdays, a podcast by friends for friends. I'm here with Margot
Hi.
and Adam.
Hello.
How have your guys' weeks been?
Stressful.
Yeah.
Finals are rapidly approaching. Got my first one in 2 days, so just been buckling down and studying.
We were joking about it before the podcast, but I've got a bad case of senioritis right now in the sense of I'm done caring about this semester. But that's also somewhat stressing me out because I've never gone full blown down that path before. So it's a very odd mixture of I don't have any willpower to do the work, but I also do have a little bit of guilt because of that. I am still doing the work because of that guilt. So it's confusing. I'm still doing it. I'm just not caring about it while I'm doing it. Yeah. How about you, Ryan?
Doing all right, definitely getting bogged down by projects. But other than that, we're surviving. I'm trying to find a house for the summer.
Ooh.
Been a little stressful, but other than that, been doing good.
Yeah. We'll take it.
Apartment shopping is not fun.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. I've been trying to find one for law school, and I give up. Not actually, but kinda.
I'll do. I see it on TikTok a lot. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but people living in vans and stuff, they'll deck out their van, or
Yeah.
I think you can rent or buy vans or that with beds and stuff inside. And honestly, that seems fantastic. I would do that.
I would like that. Yeah, I definitely like that, and I would do that. Except I would also want to do one of those little tiny homes instead, so that I could have a shower. But
that's true. Showers are something I'm not sure if I could go without.
Yeah, I could not. But yeah, it's just one of those things. But the tiny houses and the little van houses, or when they get an old school bus.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Those are cool. Those are really cool. Yeah.
That's
get a kitchen
my
there.
dream is to do that.
Yeah.
But at what point does it become you deck out a school bus, become an RV?
Really, it just becomes an RV.
It does seem like just a fancier or more effort RV, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Follow-up idea. Screw all of our summer plans that we worked really hard to get. And instead, let's do a podcast tour live. And we'll get a tour bus. And that'll be what we live.
Tour bus.
You just show up at
a tour bus
places.
For no live shows.
Mm-hmm. You just show up to random streets across the U.S.
Yeah, we'll just set up a little podcast station and be this is what we're doing.
Here we are in the middle of South Dakota. There's no one around. There's a buffalo right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hi.
Breaking news, Buffalo, what do you have to add?
He eats the microphone.
All right, that's our show.
Second or fourth podcast idea. We try to get random animals to eat microphones, like that one TikTok of the dog eating the microphone. Oh man, what a world. But yeah, follow up from last week. It's the senioritis is making me very, very thankful that I don't have a TikTok right now. I will get one just because I've talked about it enough with people.
And you promised.
And I promised. So I will get one. But if I had one right now, I think I would forget about any guilt I have about not doing work. Just be on TikTok. Yeah. Man.
It's pretty entertaining. Although I do have one gripe about TikTok, and Ryan, I don't know if you've experienced this, but sometimes the algorithm forgets what it's doing, and I get a bunch of things that I don't, not that are horribly irrelevant to me, but that I definitely don't really want to see, and it seems to happen at random times, and it's annoying.
So I was reading through this article on the TikTok algorithm, and apparently that's on purpose. Is they occasionally want to show you things that aren't in your settings to see if maybe it's changed.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's this is really popular right now. Do you want to see it? And then if it's no, then we won't show it to you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A time.
TikTok is.
It just seems.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it seems like if I'm on TikTok a lot, it like runs out of things to show me, and it'll be
Oh.
like, I don't know, what do you want? You've watched everything. Here's this random video. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
We've run out of D&D TikTok.
No more D&D. What are they gonna show you?
Oh man.
Exactly. It's interesting because like after a while you start getting that like low effort content. I've seen a lot of like people just like find tweets and like they just set that as their background and they read the tweet
That's my pet peeve.
and it's
Oh,
like
that's so annoying.
yeah, I mean the tweet is funny, but the person saying it isn't really funny.
Dude, I feel like that used to be a thing like on YouTube.
Yeah.
When
It
like
still is, I think. And I know that's a pretty popular subset of YouTube videos where
they like
YouTubers
go
will
through
like
Reddits or something.
react or Reddit or something.
Yeah.
It's
And
terrible.
it's just,
Although I do know like there's this one YouTuber couple that I like, and they do that because it gets views. They have like their normal channel, they do things they actually enjoy, and that's like, oh, we got to do this because people watch it, and that's how they make money. And the reason they're able to do the things they actually want to do is because that supports it.
and I
which is
get
just
that
unfortunate.
side of it. It is just one of those things where it's like I don't personally want to see someone like
Yeah.
laugh for 20 minutes over like something that anyone else would just be like, you know, but they like really over dramatize it and like
Yeah.
yeah,
That's at least they're not like overreacting to anything. It's
right.
at least more genuine than that, but
That's
you
good.
definitely see a lot of like there's the you know like the classic like YouTube thumbnail of people like freaking out or
Yeah.
something. And you see a lot of those, like, especially when it's like, look at this crazy thing in this Reddit thread. It's like nothing in there. It's remotely worth the reaction that you're doing.
Mhm.
So here's the thing. We have a YouTube channel if you want to check us out at Rage Podcast or at youtube.com. But we have started doing thumbnails. And it is the most uncomfortable thing to me. The first time I just did like screen grabs from the episode itself. The next time we just did like selfies, and I feel like that's probably the better way to do it because we look a little clearer in them. But it's just so awkward. I was like posing while I was doing it, and I was like, I guess I should like put my headphones on as if I'm like in the episode right now. And I was like, here I am. It's just like, I don't know. It's just so weird. And I was like thinking, I was like, the title is Flapdoodles and Snickerseeds. Like, there's no way to like show that in a thumbnail. And so it's like, do we have to do like the like shocked face, like, oh my god, Flapdoodles, like for the episode? I don't know. I felt weird. Yeah.
I think we should try one where it's like you do like a really clickbaity,
Oh yeah.
the red circles and arrows, be like, we talked about what? Or like, you won't believe.
Right. I do think that that's something I want to try at least once, but it would have to be a really, really special episode. That's our worst podcast episode. That'll be the thumbnail. It'll
Wait,
be
that's a good
we
idea.
made the
actually.
worst podcast ever.
Not
Episode
clickbait.
gone wrong. That's so look forward to that. Oh man. But yeah, it's a time. It's something that is not fun, but yeah, I'm trying to like understand it all because it's one of those like weird aspects of posting online and trying to get views is sharing it and doing the different things that you need to do to like push yourself up and things. It's a time. Yeah. You know, sometimes this is gonna be a great transition. Are you ready? Sometimes you might change your Tinder profile to get more matches, and that's wrong. You should just be you. Tinder profile. That's a pet peeve of mine in dating. That's the whole transition. We're gonna be talking about
not great.
I was gonna say.
Also, not our worst one.
Okay.
I'll stand by that. I think I've had worse. But no, yeah, we're gonna talk. Oh, this is a relationship episode. We're going back to episode 1. I'm just hitting a reset button.
Yeah, in case you checked us out, I don't know why you'd be here if you checked like first episode and like, man, look, a cool relationship podcast. Now we never talked about relationships again.
We talked
This is
about
the
them once
episode for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is our third time. We'll do them every I don't know, 30 episodes.
I think we made that same joke before.
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
We make that
but-
joke every 30 episodes.
Right. Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, so I don't know. I think the big things we wanted to talk about was just like red flags in relationships and pet peeves and just generally that kind of vibe. It's gonna be a dating podcast now.
I was gonna say with
I want
like
a
your
fast
transition,
experience.
yeah, your transition is like, you shouldn't change your Tinder bio. But some of the people like you see, maybe they should change because I feel like some people's are red flags, but maybe that's a good thing.
That's true. That's the thing though, is like I don't like it when people like lie on their profiles. Like it's a big thing where guys will like label themselves as like moderate or like liberal when they're like hardcore conservatives just because they know they won't get matches if they admit that they're hardcore conservative.
Yeah.
So that's a fear. But it's like stuff like that. Like don't lie about that kind of stuff. If you want to be like, I love the fish. I don't know. Maybe you won't find the girl for you, but
That
I
is
think
a
of
thing.
things that people do on Tinder, and don't they hold fish?
Yeah, I think that's pretty
Yeah,
common for
like-
guys.
Which is very bizarre to me. I don't know why. Well, guys don't make any sense. Speaking as a guy, I don't understand why guys do any of the things they do, but that's one of the things I'm like, why? What thought process is running through your mind? It's like, look at this thing that I killed. Doesn't that make you want to date me?
Here's the thing. I don't get it, right? I, like animals. I'm a vegetarian. I'm also not from a small town originally, but I moved to a small town in middle school. And guys would literally have like pictures hanging up in their lockers of like them and a like deer that they shot. And it was like, look at me. And like there were girls that thought I was hot. And they were like, oh my God, wow. And I think it was like, I think there's two mindsets. And I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong. I'm just saying I have one and I don't have the other. But like, I personally view it as like, look, I just killed like this innocent being. Isn't that hot? And it's like, no, for me. But I do know girls who are like, wow, he's a provider. Like, look at him kind of thing.
So, to that mindset, can I go to the grocery store, pay $5 for a thing of meat, and hold that up and be like, look at me, I can
think-
provide?
That would be equally as hot.
I was gonna say like
Exactly
the
the
vegetarian
same.
version, like you start a garden and then you like pull out a
He
head of
holds up a
lettuce.
Honestly,
That'd be hot.
that would be kind of hot.
You know, that's
if it's like, look at
provider
this
right there.
sustainable garden that I've created and maintained, that's pretty good. That
It
speaks.
shows
That's
he's
a-
responsible.
Yeah,
like-
responsible, probably passionate because there's a lot of work to take care of a garden.
Putting in the
Yeah.
time.
Putting in the time, committed. Yeah. All right, get
Way
you a
better than,
guy
like-
who gardens.
He'll
Or
make
better,
sure to
like,
water
driving
you
up
every
to-
day.
I like the idea of a guy who like his only idea of how to sustain a relationship is through gardening, and he just like brings a girl a glass of water every day to woo her.
After how many days would it get weird though?
I don't know. I like hydration.
Yeah, I don't know if it would ever get weird. It's definitely a trend I've seen that, like reminders to eat and drink water,
Mhm.
and
Those
so
are cute. Those are nice.
cute. Although, that was one thing I didn't realize people just didn't do that.
Yeah, I think it's like a distracted thing.
Yeah.
Like I know that that's something on a lot of like mental health advocates will say
Yeah.
is like if you have like a friend who's kind of like going through something to just kind of text them and be like, hey, did you have water today? And just like check in on them in that kind of way, because like a lot of people will check in on like the like are you doing okay kind of thing, but to like ask like a specific thing is good for like them to have that actual
makes sense.
reminder.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And an even better idea with that. There's like there started to become like memes about drinking water. Like you have a friend like that, just send them a meme. Boom. And like subconsciously they'll be like, oh, I should drink water.
My favorite is there's this meme. It's like this really, it's a like shitpost kind of meme, but it's like a bear that's like CG like imposed over a house, and he's like kind of attacking the house, and he goes like, drink water or Barry will hurt you, or like something like that. I don't know. But it's very funny. Yeah. So drink water or Barry will hurt you. Here's your reminder. You're probably listening to this and you haven't had a sip of water for like an hour or two. So just like drink some water.
Yeah. Going
Yeah,
back
we'll
to
be your
the
friends today.
yeah. Going back to the animals, like I just don't understand why you would post that. Cuz also like a relationship thing, like what if you're that animal? You could die.
Yeah, that's the scary thing. It was like, oh, this man does own a gun.
And is willing to kill.
Yay. Yeah. I at the same time, again, small town thing, know a lot of girls who hunt. And who like I'm friends with them on Instagram and stuff, and they always have pictures of them with like dead geese. And it's like, does that make me uncomfortable? Yes. But is it something that they're passionate about? Also, yes.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah, it's one of those things like I'm from the suburbs. I knew some people who like hunted in that they like drove out to a cabin, got super drunk for 2 days, and didn't do anything at all. So like it's remotely not anything I'm familiar with. So like obviously that's a completely different cultural experience that I don't understand, but it is important to them. So all right, it weirds me out a bit, but if you love doing it, fine.
Exactly. I know this about hunting. Like some areas, like where I'm from, like we have an overpopulation of deer, and so like in order to like keep all the population accurate, they have to hunt some deer. But also like the thing people enjoy most about hunting isn't really the hunting part, because like you have to wake up super early and you're just sitting still all day, and people just like hanging out in a cabin and getting wasted.
Yeah, that's what I always heard. It's like the hunting part, not fun. It's the getting drunk in the cabin. That's like the real goal of the whole thing, which makes sense.
You could just do.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Of like, you don't have to cover it up with hunting. This is a reasonably socially acceptable thing to do.
I think plenty of people would be like, that sounds like a fun weekend. If you told them like, yeah, man, a bunch of friends and I got a cabin and we just like partied. Like, no one would be like, okay, fucking loser, are you kidding me? Like people would just be like, yeah, sure, you had like a party weekend, okay. You know, yeah, what a world. Speaking of the overpopulation thing though, I just learned, and maybe I'm like slow to the news, but like Australia government like tries to get people to eat kangaroos.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
They're like vermin in Australia.
They're not viewed as like, look at these kangaroos, aren't they cool? They're viewed as like, oh my god, these pests. Like, get rid of
it's
them.
like we need to get rid of these kangaroos. There are too many of them, and they're I guess a little dangerous. They'll just attack people for no reason. There was this really funny video I saw of this guy parachuting, and like as he's going to land on the landing mat, there's a kangaroo that just runs up to him, punches him, and then runs away. Like the kangaroo is not remotely near the landing spot. He's literally ran up to punch him and then left.
That's so funny. Oh
There's
my
a
god.
lot of videos of like kangaroos punching people.
Yeah, I've seen the ones where they like go on their tail and then kick someone. Those are cool.
That seems like that would be really painful.
I feel like it could kill a man. Like if they got kicked in the right way on like their ribs, like that would totally break ribs.
That's the like horses. If they kick back, that can kill you. And I'd imagine a kangaroo would be the same way. If it's like the full force, that's gotta break bones at least.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm a little scared to go to Australia in general, just because of like the snakes and spiders. I would absolutely want to go, but it would be very much a thing where I was terrified of those because I'm sure I'd see them. And I freak out at like tiny spiders. So that's a world.
Speaking of Australia and pests, like they also have a big emu problem, or at least they used to. Like they once had the Great Emu War, of like there was a ton of emus, I think, on like Western Australia. So like sent out the army to go deal with it, and like they spent like one day like set machine guns. There were a ton of like emu in the field they shot, and like they killed like 3 of them, and then like all the rest just scattered because they were so fast. And they did it for like 5 days, and then they're like, we spent too much money trying to shoot emu, and then like not seeing results, so they just left. And the emus won.
It was like a horrible failure. And when like they did set up, and they're like, all right, we got like a choke point. Here's some machine guns. Their guns would jam. It's like, well, and I remember the like not general, but whoever like the commander officer of that thing was like, if we could just strap machine guns to emus, we win every war.
I really, for some reason, thought that there was some sort of stereotype about Australian men that you were going to go into. It's like, okay. But yeah. So, like, what are some other kind of, like dating site or, like, app, like, red flags or pet peeves? I know that Adam doesn't have one.
My vast experience of never using a dating app.
But, like, you've heard. You have friends like me who constantly complain about boys.
I mean, there's the classic ones that I've heard of, like bad pictures, or just people having no etiquette. Like they'll ghost you after like you sent one message, or like you set up a date and then you never hear from them again. So yeah. I'm sure that's all terrible.
That's fair. Yeah.
That's the thing. This is sort of unrelated, but I think ghosting is the worst. Not really dating, but like job applications. Like you're applying to a place, you did all this work, you sent them a resume, maybe even a letter of recommendation, gave them all this information. They don't even send anything back, you know?
I've been ghosted by some jobs before, and that's all like job application things
it hurts
before.
More than a relationship.
It stings. Especially if like you hear back from them once and then you just don't hear back from them again, kind of thing. That's the worst too, because it's like it's one thing if you just like never hear, but if it's like you apply and then they're like, hey, we really liked your application, here's like follow-up steps, and you do the follow-up steps and then you don't hear anything. It's like, did they hate the follow-up steps? Like, yeah.
Did they not like my background check?
Did they see that I murdered 3 people? Is that like an issue?
That is always the worst part about that stuff for me, is like, well, what did you not like? Like I had a job, I applied, heard nothing, and then I heard from like another, because it was a law school thing, and so I heard from another person that they had gotten that job, and I was like, I didn't even know they were interviewing. They just said nothing the whole time. And I was like, what do you want from me? What am I doing wrong? What is this person doing right? What happened?
It's tough because it's like, it's one of those things that this is like a pro of dating things and not of job applications. But like sometimes if you like know that a dating thing isn't going to work out, you'll like say that and leave. Like there was this one guy I was talking to last semester, and it was like, you know, vaccines weren't out yet. So I was like, I would definitely prefer like virtual, like Zoom dates for the time being, because like, I don't know you, I don't know your life and like how COVID safe you are. I was nicer about it, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, well, like I, you know, definitely want to be like in person. So that's like kind of just not what I'm looking for right now. And I was like, okay, thanks for letting me know. And then we just, you know, went our separate ways. I would love that from a job application. If they were like, hey, we're just not really looking for the same thing right now because of like this. We want like this type of experience and you don't have it, you know?
We're just at different places in our lives right now. And you know, maybe in the future something could line up if we're like in the same city. But you know, just at this point, I just don't think it's going to work out.
Exactly.
This gives me a great idea. I think LinkedIn should have like a Tinder type sort of setting of like you, the like employee, search for companies and can like swipe left and right on companies, and then the companies can swipe on you and be like, oh look, this person's got a bachelor degree in so and so.
Even better, take all names off of it. So like take the company names off of it when you're viewing like the responsibilities, unless you like match, and then take off the names of like people, because there's like a whole thing with diversity and inclusion in hiring processes because of the whole like last name thing. There's been like tons and tons of studies of people not getting hired because they didn't have like white enough last names. I say in air quotes, and it's also like super not good. But it's like, you know what I mean? It's like that's a thing that a lot of companies have adopted already, where they like take the names off of it and just have like a number assigned with certain applicants, so that that's not something they can be accused of. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that, but I also think the current hiring process is really boring. You get a resume, that thing is so boring. Look, it just says where you went to school, previous job experience. That doesn't really tell you a lot. Like, make it like Tinder, be like, ooh, look, there's their interests, there's their like job opportunity and all this stuff. I think that could be fun.
I do think we should gamify more things in life.
Exactly.
Yeah, like taxes. I think they're boring. I get why we need them, but I think we could make it more fun.
This is just a rant. It's ridiculous that the government knows exactly how much taxes you owe and doesn't tell you, and you have to figure it out yourself.
We should make it like a Kahoot, where like if you get it wrong, there's no like problems, but it's just like you do get told the right answer, but they're like, "Did you get it? Did you not? I don't know."
I would like that. Music. Instead, if you mess it up, you could go to prison.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is like we know exactly how much money you owe, but you have to figure it out. And if you're wrong, you're going to jail. It's like, how is this a good system? Why are we doing this?
There was a really funny tweet about that where someone was like, "Okay, but can you tell me how much I owe?" And it was like, "Government, no," with a heart.
It's like that one friend that's like, "Oh, guess how much this is." Like, "Oh no, just tell me." It's like, "No, you have to guess." And it's like, "Oh, you guessed wrong. You're going to jail now."
Instead, they just lock you up for life. Man. But yeah, I think taxes could be more fun. I think apartment hunting could also be more fun. I think that's a really boring and scary process. That would just be better if it was better. Also, idea. Adam, you're going to be my lawyer for this. So don't let someone steal it. You've had an IP class.
We talked about IP for like 2 days, but okay.
But I thought it would be like a really cute idea to make like a Gen Z cookbook of like things to like learn how to cook as you're becoming an adult kind of thing. I don't know. I thought it'd be fun. I thought you could put a bunch of like the TikTok recipes in there and be like,
Step 1, cook the whole box of pasta.
No. Oh my God. We talked about this before the podcast. Wow, I'm going to be so official and Adam's going to be proud of me. Feel free to leave us a 5-star review on any of your podcast listening services. And when you do that, let us know in your review whether you think you should cook the whole box of pasta or just a little bit that you want.
Because for clarification, we talked about this before the podcast. Margot, like a crazy person, only cooks part of the box of pasta that she wants to use instead of just cooking the whole thing and having leftovers for the next day or lunch or whatever, as, you know, a normal person would do.
Yeah.
But it's far less work to just cook the whole thing instead of cooking just part of it and then doubling the work up for yourself.
Yeah.
I just think it's simpler to say, this is how much I want, and then eat that much. It's also a good way of doing, like, portion control, because I'm, like, side note, an emotional eater. So if I'm, like, sad and I'm making some pasta, if I make the whole box, I will eat the whole box, and then I will feel bad, because my tummy is bad.
But counterpoint, you can also plan out, okay, I'm making the full box of pasta. This is my meal for today. This is my meal for tomorrow. Because you're setting leftovers in advance.
Yeah. And you could like tape the lid down, you know. Really like even set you off.
And you can mark it and write like Wednesday, whatever. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm eating and this day. And then you're really just set and organized.
Yeah.
You guys pitched this as just an easier, more convenient thing, and now you're adding so many steps to it to make it less and less convenient.
I don't have to spend 30 minutes on another day cooking more.
But here's the thing. If you're cooking like just a like serving size of pasta, it really does not take that long. Like you can either do it in the microwave for like 5 minutes, or you can do it like on the stovetop for like maybe like I'd say 15 to 20 for the actual like pasta process. If you add cleaning into it, it can take a little longer. But it's like I just think it's it's worthwhile to just make how much you want.
Counterpoint, you could also take pasta out of the fridge, put on a plate, and put it in the microwave in 5 minutes, and then have food.
5 minutes is way too much for leftover pasta, right?
I don't know. Maybe it takes you a while to get out of the fridge.
Maybe you're really slow. You're
Give me
watching
the
some
plate.
TikToks and you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I meant to be doing that thing. And
Here's the thing. I think there's a distinction. If you make a pasta dish, then yeah, use the whole box and like make the whole thing. But if you're just doing like a little like college meal type of like pasta serving thing, then just do the serving. Well, I don't know. Y'all are crazy.
just make the whole box, and then you have leftovers
Yeah.
for the next day, and it's just easier.
Relationship red flag. They make the whole box of pasta.
Relationship red flag. They make only half of it.
Oh my
But also,
god.
wait, going back to relationships.
Yeah.
I actually don't have a segue. I was just going to say it's probably better if they make the full box because it means it's for both of you.
That's cute. I'll admit it. We love a man who cooks. Just boiling up some pasta for you. Yeah, I think that it's just one of those things where it's like you gotta decide what you want. But food wise though, I'm curious, Adam, because your girlfriend is a vegetarian, right?
She is, yes.
Would you date someone who wasn't? And Ryan, would you date a vegetarian and or vegan?
I would let's say yes, I would date someone. It just seems like it would be complicated. Like it's so easy for my girlfriend and I to just be like, there's no question of what we're eating because we're going to be eating relatively the same thing.
Mhm.
And it's not like, oh, I'm really craving meat. That's never going to happen. So
Right.
I think that's nice though, because then it's like, oh, you get, like cook the same thing because you always want the same thing. That's actually quite nice.
That's very
Um,
cute.
I think yeah, I could do it.
Hmm.
Would I have to change what I'm eating? I don't
I don't
know. But like, I could maybe do that. I could try it.
Fair. I've never dated a vegetarian and or vegan. I've dated people who were like okay with like I've never dated anyone who was like those aggressive meat eaters.
you're going to hell.
Yeah. Like, how dare you not eat meat? I have to eat meat to survive. Like
I have a steak for lunch, breakfast, and dinner.
in that order. But yeah, I don't know. I've never dated someone like that. They've all been like cool with it. But like I do have some like vegetarian and vegan friends who are like, if I date a guy who eats meat, I'm gonna like convert him kind of things. And I'm like,
I think that's the wrong attitude, but it would certainly be difficult to date someone who has that kind of different diet. Like that's just so not there's worse, but like that'd just be so difficult
Here's the
to
thing.
like eat together or be like, oh well, I want to eat meat. It's like, well, that's a whole different meal you have to prepare now.
Yes, I agree with you on that aspect. But here's where I think it's worthwhile is going out to eat. Because then you can do little swapsies with sides. Especially for like if you go to like a diner and you get like breakfast for dinner kind of thing. I love hash browns and or like any sort of breakfast potato thingy. They're very tasty. And then I, have dated guys who like bacon. And so we'll just do a little switch. We'll do a little swap. And it's always a good little time because then I get more potatoes and or just potatoes in the first place. And then they get bacon. And it's exciting.
Oh, I was confused as to what you were swapping. I was like, wait, are you getting bacon out of the deal? Why would you want that?
No, it's like, especially for like sides for like lunches or something, if they're like, hey, here's like something with like meat in it for the side and I don't want that, then I can give it to them. Or like if they have like a side salad that they didn't want, then I can have it kind of thing. It's a good time. Yeah.
Sure. I thought you were talking about like cooking for like the other person. Like,
No.
I would cook something vegetarian, but if I was dating a vegetarian, I wouldn't make them cook something with meat in it.
Yeah,
See, that's something I'm worried
that's
about.
another thing is I would
Yeah,
not
like-
ever want to cook meat.
Yeah.
So
I would just
two
assume
reasons.
that, yeah.
Yeah, two reasons. One, it's icky. Ew. Ugh. Like it's this bloody piece of flesh. I don't want to touch it. Like I understand that it smells really good and it like probably tastes good like after and everything like that. But when it's raw and when it's uncooked, it's nasty. And I don't trust someone who's like, that looks delicious at an uncooked piece of meat. But so like it's gross when it's uncooked and needing to be prepared. But then two, I'm worried that I'd like give them food poisoning because like what if it's not cooked all the way?
It's like a slightly complicated process for some types of meats. I'm not familiar with meat.
It depends on like what you're cooking. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. It would have to be like a previously prepared type of meat that all I had to do was like heat something up.
Yeah, I'll like toss a burger in the microwave. That's probably the extent of what I do cooking wise.
Yeah, because I just don't want to like not cook it enough and not be able to like taste it. That's another thing is like I'm very much the taste as you go kind of cooker. Because you got to make sure that you're seasoning things right. And, like, I'm not going to do that with meat. I don't know how you do that with meat. How do you do that with meat, Ryan?
You, like, cut off a little piece if you want. Or, like, for steak, like, you can check on how done it's on, but, like, how red the middle is.
Oh, okay.
And people have, like, different
preferences.
Like, more pink is, like, well done. It's almost, like, grayish at that point, too. And then, like, more red is rare.
I always think it's really funny. I don't ever do this, but I always like think in my head, wouldn't it be funny when I'm ordering like a veggie burger if I was like, well done. But yeah, I think it's an interesting thing though, eating together. Mm-hmm. It's a thing relationships.
I think you can make it work.
Include.
I could maybe try going vegetarian. I don't know. Who knows? I've tried like eating a lot less beef. Because also beef is bad for the environment. So like
it's also bad for your health.
And bad for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
My dad
not
had
assuming eating meat is good for me. But like I've eaten a lot more like chicken and pork because they consume a lot less water.
Sure. Red meat specifically though is like I think bad for your heart. Because like my dad had a heart attack when I was in like elementary school. And then afterwards, like in one of his doctor's meetings, they were doing a thing where it was like the doctor asked him like, okay, so how often do you eat red meat? And my dad was saying like maybe like once or twice. And then he was like about to say like a week kind of thing. And then the doctor was like, a year? Like as if like you really shouldn't have it that often, health wise, apparently.
Once or twice a year?
That seems like a lot, but still, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, but I have heard red meat's not great for you. I know it's not vegetarian. There's a word for it, but that you can just cut out red meat and it's like the chicken is what you
Pretty
leave.
sure that is pescatarian.
No, because I'm technically a pescatarian. Pescatarian is just fish that you keep.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just white meat.
Every time you say pescatarian, for some reason I think Episcopalian, which is like
Yep.
a denomination of Christianity. And I just like to think there's like a denomination of Christianity that only like doesn't eat meat.
I believe it if it exists, though. Like, because the whole Lent
makes
thing.
sense.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the Lent thing, but also like a pescatarian denomination of Christianity because there was the whole fish story with Jesus where he like made up I don't remember something about the Bible, but there's like duplicated fish or something.
Jesus
I don't know why
is
in
the
my
fisherman, and he like duplicates the fish.
That.
I don't know why in my mind I was just picturing like Jesus on the cover of Red Fish, Blue Fish. But,
even funnier.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Well, let's try to think of some other like red flags relationship wise though. This is gonna be not a podcast about relationships.
No.
Heads up.
That was the guide, and we've just like
we've ignored it.
There was one red flag that I brought up before. I saw a TikTok about it, but basically it's a red flag if a guy really wants kids, because it's less the fact that he wants kids and more the fact of what it kind of insinuates. If a guy's like really like, I really want kids, it probably means he doesn't really value you and is just valuing the woman as like a baby maker, which is pretty bad. And that you might like really care about his legacy or whatever, which is just a horrible thing to care about. And that's a red flag in and of itself.
It's a relatable red flag.
Going off of what Adam said about legacy, it's also a big red flag if the person cares about the gender of your kid.
Yes.
Either way. And that's also just not men in general. I hate it when parents in general care about the gender. Because it's like, why are you having kids if you're going to be disappointed if it's one way or another? You know?
Yeah.
You should just be happy you got a kid, kind of thing. But no, the legacy thing is super creepy. And that does typically go hand in hand with wanting boys.
Yeah, the whole like it's my heir, the like
Family name.
like one of
The
my
castle will go to him.
Yeah. But it's so old fashioned, like who cares? It's just so not how society works. And it's just so like self centered.
Yeah, especially with the whole family name thing. Because that's to me like that also just fundamentally expects the woman to change her name. Which I don't think should be the case, especially like now we live in a very like modern world where that's happening less and less. Like I know a lot of women who, especially professionally, still go by their maiden name. And I don't know. It's something interesting to me that I'm like, why does that have to matter? Because like, couldn't the woman also carry on the name? If like they decided to stick with that name instead, I don't know. It's just a thing to me that I don't like. I'm not a fan of the kid thing because it's like you nailed it on the like viewing women as baby makers because that's not good. Hot take.
Not good.
I think you should want to be with a woman.
Women have more value than just that.
Who would have thought?
And also like it's not a bad idea to have it like in the back of your mind, as we said, but like just right out the gate, like that's what you're advertising of like I want kids. It's just a little strange.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is it's like if you want kids, go for it. Fun. Like that's exciting. It's a goal in your life and that should be, admired in the sense of people should have goals. But like it is something that is like I think that people get a lot more wary of it when women do it than when men do it, even though it's like I think personally scarier when men do it. Because like society teaches women like you're gonna get married, you're gonna have kids. Like that's something that like you get questioned a lot is like you get handed like baby dolls as toys when you're kids to be like, look, you gotta take care of the little baby doll. You get like, ooh, what kind of wedding do you want questions since you're like born, and stuff like that. And so it's like I think a little less weird for women to be like, oh, I really want kids kind of thing. And like that being like a thing that they tell people all the time. But like for guys, it's like something that they're coming up with on their own and that it's usually like a weird way. Like I don't know if you guys have had guys like this in your life, but I know of at least 3 guys who have actively told people that like they want to have like 6 kids so that they can have like a little sports team running around with them. But like,
that's a red flag.
Yeah, it's a red flag.
I don't know anyone like that, but I was gonna like add on like it's even more of a red flag if they want a lot of kids.
It's just like
because that too is like ignoring the hardship that pregnancy is, but also like financial hardship of dealing with that, and it's like this will just happen. It's like no, this is not how that works.
It's so wild to me, especially because those guys are also more often than not against adoption in my experience. And it's like, it's one thing if you're like, I'd love to adopt a ton of kids.
Yeah.
Because then it's like not expecting the woman to like give up on her life. But like, especially because you want them to be like close enough together. I do know some guys, and there's like a joke about it in Gilmore Girls too. So like it's a fairly popular thing that guys have asked for, where it's like the however many in that many of years. So like the one in Gilmore Girls is 4 and 4, where it's like we have 4 babies in 4 years. I've heard a lot of like 2 and 2 or 3 and 3, where it's
like in a row.
Yeah.
Like year after year, there's another one.
Yeah, which like at that point, the
assembly line style.
Yeah, right. It's like the woman physically is gonna be like hurt, and like not amazing, but then also like career-wise,
yeah.
like that's just asking her to take off like 4 to 5 years of working to care about baby making. It's not exciting. Yeah.
You brought up a good point though of like, girls are like brought up to this idea of marriage and like playing with baby dolls at a young age. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a time. Did you guys ever play with dolls? Was it ever like G.I. Joe? Is that like a thing. I don't know.
I like doll houses. I think that's
Okay,
fun. You have like a setting. That's also why I like Legos. Of like you have
Yeah.
a setting. You can like make a story in your head, but you've got a setting, like a basis to go off of.
Yeah. I didn't. They're like kind of dolls. They're Rescue Rangers. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Okay.
They're like a show too. But I had their like base, which is just a house. But that was awesome, and for that exact same reason of like, yeah, you get your little characters and you make stories and you have like a setting for it. That's fun. That's why I liked Legos too. But like, so like, yeah, I mean, guys we pretty much have dolls and they just call them something different, and it's
Right.
all the exact same. Of like you're playing house, but you're just doing something slightly different.
Oh yeah, definitely. Man,
And
that's
doll
awesome.
houses are so cool.
Yeah.
I love doll houses. They're very fun. Yeah. What a world. Heike, do you guys ever like okay. Do you guys ever like think about your weddings though? Like about like things that you want? Like I know we've like talked about it briefly like now and then, but is there like something that you like know for sure that it's like this is something I would love to have at my wedding that you've like thought about for years or anything?
I'd like another person there.
Yeah, marrying another human being.
Yeah.
I can't say I have ever thought about a wedding in that much detail. More like, yeah, I'll have a wedding at some point, but there's never ever been a thing of like, I want this. It's just,
Huh.
I don't know, not something I've ever felt. I don't know, just not something I've ever thought about.
That's always really interesting to me because, like, all the girls in my life, I can ask that question. They're like, absolutely, like this or that. And it's like, I do think the guys should be involved. But there's this one time I was asking another guy friend, and he, like, got angry. He was like, I think that that's something that, like, me and my future wife will, like, discuss and stuff. And it's like, yeah, sure. Like, he was, like, trying to say, like, it shouldn't just be my opinion kind of thing. And it's like, of course, it shouldn't just be your opinion, but, like, you should bring opinions to the table. Like it should be
Yeah.
a thing where it's like both parties get a say. And I think he was kind of mad at the idea that like typically like I think the popular belief is that like women are gonna plan the wedding kind of thing.
Mhm.
And the guy's just gonna like show up. And it's like and I think he was saying that like, yeah, like we'll like talk that through and like everything like that. Like not just one of us is gonna have plans. And it's like that's exactly what I'm saying though.
Yeah.
It's like you should have ideas.
I think that's the thing. I'm like, I don't know. I don't have any concerns about like my wedding at all. But also, I'm only 21 right now. I don't have any ideas for it. That's also like probably a ways down the way. Hopefully, who knows? But like,
Tune
I
in
don't-
next week when
yeah.
Ryan gets married.
Breaking news.
yeah, from the Buffalo.
Ryan
What's the
getting
Buffalo
married
doing
before
here?
Adam.
The buffalo is the officiant. Oh my god.
But
I
why
will
was
say-
yeah.
Just briefly, I thought the same thing. I was like, man, I'm only 22, load of time. And now my friend, who is also 22, is getting married in less than a month.
Right, that's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah.
So it's like the way I'm looking is like I really don't have anything that like I'm like, oh, I've got to have this, this, and this. But also like I'm interested. Like if like I'm having a wedding, I'll be invested in it and I'll help plan it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm just gonna show up in a suit.
Right. That's fair. I think that's like a good balance. I don't know. For me, it's like obviously I'm not like down packed, booked all the venues, done everything, know the dress. Like it's not that. It's just that I'm like, oh, here's some fun ideas that I think would be good. And it's not getting married in the traditional sense.
That's like the only ideas I have are rejecting all of the traditional ideas because weddings are a scam and
They're a
you
scam.
shouldn't do it.
Pro tip, I'm not a wedding planner, but I could be in the sense that I know about this trick is that you never tell the venue that you're doing it for a wedding. You're like, you tell them any other event. You're like, it's my grandfather's birthday party or something because they charge more for weddings because they can.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's a whole.
I have a wedding idea. Like I'm also like I'm from country area as well, but like a barn wedding is
That's so
pretty
cute.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that actually
exactly
sounds
it.
really adorable with like the fairy lights all strung around
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. That's fun. I don't know. I'm very much into the idea of just a courthouse wedding and then like just a big party with people that I enjoy time with.
Yeah, that sounds like a good
Right, like
plan.
that sounds like that's because like the
Get the legal
reception
business out of the way, and really all you care about the party is the party anyways. The ceremony is not the interesting part. Everyone's bored.
But also, I'd be so embarrassed to like talk about how much I love someone in front of everyone I know. I that seems like such a private moment to me, and like I like the idea of vows, and I would love to do like handwritten letters between me and like my future partner where it's like, here's something that I thought about you, but I don't want it like projected in front of everyone I've ever met.
Man,
That feels, I would
yeah.
blush so hard, and I don't want that. Or I'd cry, and then I'd ruin my makeup, and I don't want that.
I gotta say, that's the great thing about Catholic weddings is like the vows are set in stone. You just say them, boom, you're good.
That's true.
You don't have to add anything.
Check them off the list and moving
You're
on.
like, yeah, if you get sick, all right. If you lose your money, all right. Oh man, that's fair. I don't know. Okay, what do you guys think is a green flag for a relationship? What's something that if someone does, you're like, yeah, that's the one.
They garden.
Other than
Garden.
gardening, that's too obvious.
I think a good one is just respecting like wait staff if you go to a restaurant or something.
Mm,
Yeah.
Like a pretty simple thing, but that tells you a lot about the person and how
Yeah.
they treat your service workers.
That is a
Absolutely.
good point, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. How about you, Ryan?
I don't know. That's a good one. I can't really think of anything right now.
Okay.
I think maybe like that they're truthful, and I know that's like such a cliche thing of like, oh, I just want a person that's true or whatever. But it's like,
But it's big.
yeah, I feel like if they're not like telling you everything, like you don't have to tell you everything, but like if they're like keeping secrets from you, that's like a big red flag. And if they're like, oh, hey, like just telling you even stuff that like probably isn't even that important, I think.
Right.
Like you're like, oh, where did you go to college? And they're like, why do you want to know? Who asked you?
Continue.
Who's asking?
What did you hear about the summer of 1982? I wasn't even there.
Why do you always use that year?
82?
Yeah.
Why do you want to know?
Yeah, why do you want to know? What do you know about 1982? I wasn't even alive then. You can't prove anything.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think those are both really good. I think one that like is important for me at this point is like respecting your time kind of thing. And I mean that in like multiple facets. In like one, like if you're busy, not getting mad that you're busy, and not being like, how dare you be busy, right? But then two, also like striking the balance of like prioritizing you and also like having other things kind of thing. Because I feel like those are like really important things that are the downfall of a lot of relationships is it's like you need to respect that you're not going to be the only thing in the person's life. So like they're going to have other things that they need to do,
Yeah,
and that's
and
okay.
Nor would I want to be the only thing in that person's life. That's too much
No.
responsibility. My life's not that interesting. Don't just focus on me. Do other things.
That's a big thing. Like that's huge. And then two, be like, I also don't want to like feel like a burden to them kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's also true in like friendships where it's like obviously people are going to be busy and that's just life and you're never always going to all be free at the same time kind of thing. But I think you should try to make time for people in your life even if it's not like constant, you know. I just think that that's something that's so important and I think that it's something that I've like noticed a lot more I think through the pandemic because all of my time has been like virtual with people and so it's a much more like out of my way kind of time spending thing in that it's not just like, oh, I happened across you like while we're both doing this thing. It's like, yeah, we specifically want to like talk to each other right now. And I think that that can be so powerful. Like I have weekly like lunches or like dinners or different things with some friends and it's like if we miss them then we'll just like suggest another time when we miss them. And I think that that's huge because it's like okay to miss things because like we have lives. But it's also saying like, hey, I can't do this, but would this other time work for you? Because I do still care about spending time with you. And I think that that should be a bigger thing in relationships than it is in my past ones. Where it's like, I think that that's a hard balance to strike between like caring about like spending too much time together, but then also like making sure that they do still know that you're caring about them.
Yeah.
That was a long-winded way to say just spend time, but not too much time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a big one. What are other things? Oh, this is a big one. A big red flag is if they think that something sexual needs to happen every time you see each other. That's a problem. I think in a relationship, you should just be able to be like, hey, let's just do homework.
Yeah.
Key component of a relationship is spending time with them. If you're basing it entirely around sex, that's not a relationship.
Yeah, and going back to like talking about children, it's like you want a relationship where it's like you want the person, not necessarily what you get from the person. So
Exactly. That's a big one. I don't know. I feel like that's like a big problem with a lot of relationships at our age is that people do think that that kind of thing is like a bigger factor in relationships than it needs to be. Obviously, you should have chemistry with whoever you're with and you should enjoy your time together, but it should not be the only thing that you do because then you don't know them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. I've had like so many friends where they're like telling me about a guy that they've been with and they're like, we've been dating for 3 months and like every single time we see each other we have sex. And then at the same time they're like, I didn't know he had a brother. It's like, I wonder why you didn't know that. Yeah.
Incredibly basic information.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man. So don't do that. Yeah. Well, what a world.
There's the kind of basic green flag of if animals like them. If you have a dog and your dog is like, oh, that's a bad person.
I'd say yes and no to that one, just because like, especially rescue animals might just be nervous
that's true.
around people. Yeah, like I think it's one thing if like, depending on the animal.
Yeah, I guess there are exceptions, but if you have kind of an average dog without some trauma,
Right.
then and they are like really sketched out by some person, that's probably a serial killer.
Yes, I think that's a big thing. It also depends on like how good they are with animals, because I know a lot of people who are like afraid of big dogs, and like dogs can sense that and sometimes will take advantage of that, and they'll be like, I'm your alpha now. And so like that's always a question too. I think my big thing is like how well they get along with different groups of people, like groups that they aren't comfortable in. And I think that that matters. Like I think it's always a big test to see if like it's a girl that can get along with other girls, because that is like I do think there is like a very toxic mentality that some girls have where it's like they do the I'm not like other girls thing and they like tear other girls down just for being girls. And so it's like you got to make sure that they're not one of those people. As far as guys go, if they get like really aggro at you having a guy friend, like Adam met my last boyfriend and I felt so uncomfortable when they met because my boyfriend at the time like got aggressive in the handshake. And I was like, Adam's literally like just a little sweetheart. I was like, what are you doing right now?
I honestly don't remember that happening. So that's the amount of non-importance that had.
Yeah, but
like to me, like that this guy like was like projecting so much that.
Yeah, but that's the thing is it's like this is just like a guy that I'm friends with. Like there's literally no reason to be like, hey, like let's be manly and do like a serious handshake. And it's like, okay. Yeah, like there's no need for that. Like they should get along like in a non-forced way, you know?
Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah. They should also be okay with you having friends of other genders because I think it's a stupid stereotype to say that like men and women can't be friends. Because that's dumb as hell for a lot of reasons. I don't know, but that's a big thing. I was at like um I was working last year and a bunch of my coworkers were having a conversation of like it was like this girl who was like 17 and then a guy who was like maybe 20 and he was talking about how like his girlfriend had a problem with the fact that like he was friends with like this other girl and the girl was like, I would have a problem with that too. Are you kidding me? Like, you can't do that at all. And I'm like, what? I was like, excuse me? And it's like, it should not make you uncomfortable that they have friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big one. Because that's stupid. Yeah. Alrighty. You got one, Ryan?
Oh, I just like a lot of the ones
Oh.
I found like online is just like good person skills of like that person's just a good person. And like one of the ones I saw, like someone that's like quick to give credit to people or like
Oh.
is slow to blame others.
I kind of like that a lot. Yeah.
Because like sometimes you're like, oh, like someone tells a funny joke and be like, oh, I heard it from that person, and like
Mhm.
that part usually like gets hidden, or like it's sort of quiet, but like you catch it sometimes. Be like, oh, that person like they're honest. They don't take credit
Right.
for other things. So
Or like if they've been like working on some sort of project to any degree and they're like, yeah, this person did a great job on this part. That's
Mhm.
important. Oh, that's a great one. If they're gardening and they're like, well, my friend gave me this compost,
yeah.
that's a winner. Oh, man. Alrighty. Let's talk about what rained on our parades.
I don't have a bad one. I have something that made me very happy. I don't know if you guys heard about the Josh fight in Nebraska.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was completely out of the loop. I had no idea what it was, but I've seen a bunch of videos on it. Basically, a bunch of Joshes got together and fought to see who would be the one true Josh. And it was very entertaining. There's some really funny videos, but then they also decided that this little Josh, who was like 4 or 5, was the winner. And they crowned him and like held him up in the air as everyone cheered him. And that's just adorable.
Mm-hmm.
And they raised a bunch of money for children's hospitals. So
Yeah.
Aw, I love that. That's so good. I had a bad one that ended good. There was a giant fly in my room this morning, and it was gross. And I don't like giant flies because they're mean, gross. And so I was like not having a time. I was like, "This is gross. How'd you get in here? Who invited you?" But then my cat killed it. So
I knew that story was going to end with a cat killing.
my cat is not the brightest of boys, but sometimes he comes through. It did take him a while in which he just stared at it for a long time, but then he went for it. He built up the confidence, and I was proud of him. He's a hunter. He would have a picture with that fly on his Tinder. Oh my god. Yeah.
I was gonna say what rained on my parade is I went to a trampoline park on Saturday, and that was a lot of fun. Except that I tried to do like a backflip, and it did not go well because I flipped a little too much and like landed on like one of the padded sections, not necessarily the trampoline section, and I hurt myself a bit. So
Oh,
now it
Nice.
hurts to sit, but it's getting better at least, as
Well,
things
take it.
always do.
Yeah. Drink a lot of water. I don't know if that would have any benefit at all, but I feel like it's an easy fix to everything.
And it doesn't hurt, yeah.
Yeah. Can't hurt. Unless you do it too much.
Then you
Then you'll
drown.
die. Oh my god. Alright. Well, watch out for red flags. Look out for green flags. Don't throw your butt on a trampoline.
And you know, sometimes at the outset of a podcast, you'll say, this is a relationship podcast. And then you'll spend largely the time not talking about that. And you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have a plan and you just don't follow it. And you know what? It's okay. The world will still go on. Alrighty. Have a sunny Wednesday. Or a rainy one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Live your life.
Half a Wednesday.
Yeah. Have a Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.